Hello and welcome back to Time Under Tension. I'm your host, Olivia Gravengard, registered nurse, health coach, and professional bodybuilder, whose goal is to bring you content that helps you elevate your mindset and dial in your routines and your lifestyle to help you reach your health and fitness goals, but more importantly, sustain a lifestyle that helps you feel and show up as your best and highest self every single day so that you can feel wonderful in your body and as you move through the world as the little spirit traveling in your body, and feel proud of how you're showing up. The end of the year is upon us. It's shocking how fast I feel like, especially these last couple of months have been. And for a lot of us, the end of the year can come as a bit of a rush. There's kind of this mindset around there's a lot of events coming up. There's social events, there's holidays, there's work holiday parties. There may be travel for some people. And generally, kids being out of school, things just tend to get a little bit busier. And the temptation for a lot of us is delay, to delay our start to the new year. And last week we talked a little bit about like winter arc. If you subscribe to my email newsletter, if not, you can do so down below. But I really try to offer you this content through a variety of methods so that you can really surround yourself with thoughts and advice that helps bring you back towards what's most important to you. I've been thinking a lot about what we consume. And with that, thinking about, of course, what we consume with food, but maybe more importantly, at times, what we consume mentally through the influencers that we follow, the media that we watch, be that on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Netflix. What are we consuming and surrounding ourselves with? And if you really want to succeed, being able to build a community and actually leverage these tools of social media to surround yourself with messaging that is supportive of what you want to accomplish and doesn't make it more difficult, it's actually a great way to leverage the tools and not necessarily demonize social media and some of these outlets that can have a negative undertone and can actually drag us away from our goals if used improperly, but instead actually using them to support us. I think they become a tool that can be really, really helpful and kind of an easy way to help kind of program our minds towards the truth. But with this podcast, I hope to offer you just one more resource of something you can listen to on your drive into work, on your lunch break, just to really reprogram your mind, prime your mind towards what's most important to you and say, oh, yeah, that's what I'm focused on. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm heading towards. When a lot of the temptation around social media is to look at someone else and compare your life to theirs. And that may, for a moment, offer a little burst of motivation to, well, if they can do it, I want to try. Or if they have that, then I want that. And that may move us forward to a degree, but I found that the most sustainable and enjoyable way to move consistently towards your goals is to get really clear on what's important to you. Kind of tying this into the experience that we have at the end of this year. For a lot of us, it's about putting ourselves on the back burner. It's about saying, okay, look, I got to go get all these Christmas presents. And that may be like not something that I'm dreading necessarily, but it's very focused on doing for others and maybe even, at the expense of my budget, which, kind of comes with it and maybe a perspective around tithing, if you want to look at it that way, or giving gifts generously from our heart, even if it's a bit of a stressor. But it can come with that self-sacrifice, right? And I think self-sacrifice is something that it's complicated. We want to show up and serve others and do well for them and help and caretake and all of these things that seem really wonderful and positive on the surface. We can become a little bit like a martyr if we continually put ourselves on the back burner. And I found that when this ties into health and fitness, what this can look like is kind of foregoing your goals through the end of the year and saying, well, I'll zone back in at New Year's. And instead, I've been really challenging my clients to confront that mindset and say, like, delaying your goals isn't the answer. In fact, these times at the end of the year tend to be the most challenging for people when it comes to maintaining healthy habits and maintaining focus on what's important to you in regards to your health and fitness because there are so many challenges. But because of that, it actually offers one of the greatest opportunities for growth, I would say, in comparison to the rest of the year, because it is this, medium term haul of like we've got for some of us on, Thanksgiving in November, and then the holidays come up towards the end of December, and a lot tends to happen in between that just makes the weeks fly by. And a lot of times those last 2 months of the year are a bit of a wash, and we're spending just that first month of the year trying to get our feet back under us and remember what our habits are and our goals. So one of the biggest things that you can do during this time is make time to slow down daily. For myself, I've implemented a daily journaling routine where at the beginning of the day, take time by myself and I set intentions. What's important to me today? What do I want to be able to say about myself today? What's my primary focus? What are some limiting beliefs that I'm noticing like floating around in my brain right from the start of the day? How do I want to show up for others? And how is this way of showing up going to empower me to be my best self? And also empower others around me. If I slow down and take a few minutes to visualize my day, what do I see? What do I notice? What do I find that my spirit's kind of tugging my attention towards? And really just taking time at the beginning of the day to do that, I found has really shifted how I've been able to show up through the day, even though my routine's been a little bit crazy through this last month of the year. And with more to come with traveling and holidays, I'm finding that having this time in the morning to really slow down, check in, align my intentions, and get clear on what's important to me and how that importance is going to tie into the commitments that I have for the day. It allows me to show up in the day with a lot of intentionality without feeling like I'm just kind of flying through it, and also without feeling like I'm having to negate what's important to me in order to show up for others or in order to meet some of these other commitments that I have that are coming up around these events at the end of the year. So I would highly encourage you, in anticipation of New Year's and the goals that come with that for a lot of us, take this time to get clear on what's important to you and set a very consistent, non-negotiable intention around reflection. If that's something that you can do for the first 10 minutes of your day, even if it literally means setting your alarm 10 minutes earlier to take time to set some intentions and get clear on what's important for you to the day, for the day, or at the end of the day before you go to bed, taking time to really reflect and say, okay, what happened today? How did I show up? What did I learn? What were some moments of cringing where I kind of recognized, well, that wasn't quite who I wanted to show up as? Or, noticing that that habit or that relationship isn't really serving me right now. How can I change the way that I'm showing up in it? Reduce the amount of energy I'm putting into it, or even plan to address it tomorrow in some way. So again, just intention setting, whether it's the morning of or the night after, it's so incredibly important. And that's a habit that's going to be vital through the entire year. But I've found that it's one that can be extremely helpful when navigating this last month of the year to set you up for a more intentional start to the year, but also to close this chapter with more intentionality and without feeling like you're just having to go on cruise control throughout the end of the year. So that's been something that's been really helpful for me, and I'd encourage you, like, take some time to really think about what would be some important questions to ask myself that would help me get clear on my goals. And if you want more information on like how I do my journaling reflection, I'm more than happy to share that. So just message me below, and I can send you kind of my format for questions, and you can adapt it to be something that might be more helpful for you, or just implement it and see how it goes for you, but really commit to it. And that's the biggest piece. Commit to it where you don't go to bed unless you did it, which, yeah, that's going to mean sometimes that dang it, I'm staying up trying to get this done, but I made this promise to myself. And if nothing else through the end of this year, just having a non-negotiable promise to yourself where whether you're traveling and spending time with family, or you're in town and have a lot of people over, there's no one, no thing that's going to get in the way of you doing this thing for yourself. And what that does is it messages to yourself like, we're important. We're important. And also, taking the time to care for myself and prime myself towards what's important to me is actually what allows me to show up at my highest level for the rest of these people. When we don't do that, we start to become reactive and that we may experience some moodiness. We may experience this reactivity that's kind of like out of proportion to the situation where we're chugging along and feel good about like I'm doing everything for everyone and I've made all this food and I have a clean house and like I'm hosting or I traveled and I got all these gifts and like we're doing these things with the kids and I have all these fun plans. Like you kind of like put yourself on this pedestal as a martyr to some degree that you're doing all of these things, and yet there's a like severe lack of self-care happening, and then something happens where you had this outing planned, you were going to go ice skating with the family, and then a kid has a breakdown about something and it kind of quote ruins unquote the experience, or you made this effort to go visit family and then your mom has a breakdown and it really creates a damper on the day or if not the whole trip, and you just feel this overwhelming resentment of like, I've done everything, like I did all this for such and such, and now this, blah, blah, blah. Like the anger spiral just happens. And, all of those things are out of your control, like someone else's reactivity or a situation gone awry. Like those things will happen. But what was in your control and what I would argue is actually your primary responsibility before anything else is taking care of you. And that is something that is so neglected, across the board in our culture. I've seen it with every single one of my clients that I've coached is kind of this, in some aspect of their life, this like resistance to self-care. So being able to come back to yourself and say, no, this isn't a selfish thing. This is actually an act of compassion. And it ends up being this act of service because from several different standpoints, it's what allows me to show up my best for other people. It also allows me to set an example for other people to attend to their self-care, because if I'm attending to my self-care and then say, now my mom is attending to her self-care, and then we all come together as a family and everyone's just more grounded because everyone has their primary needs met by themselves, then it creates a more positive experience across the board. Or, okay, we're going on this ice skating adventure. I've taken time to set intentions for myself through the morning. My intention wasn't that the ice skating adventure will go perfectly, but that I would show up with grace and compassion. Now, while my teenager's having a breakdown about her jeans not fitting right when we're getting on the ice, I can stop and go, hey, my intention here was to show up with grace and compassion, and now I'm being offered an opportunity to do so. And so your intention is driving the way that you show up, and it no longer feels like there's an interruption to your plans, but actually an opportunity to implement your plans because you set an intention around you, around how you're going to show up, around what's important to you for the day. And now you're getting an opportunity to practice that, to bring life to it, to show up as the kind of person in your life that you intend to be. So now no longer are things interruptions to your plans, but instead opportunities to execute your plans. So this is so helpful. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. I'm a huge fan of journaling, so I'm biased towards that being a really helpful way of processing for me. But I've found that there's really, whether you want to do that in a journal or you want to record audio messages to yourself, there needs to be some way of getting it out and being able to reflect on it, listen back to the audio message, read your journal after you've written it, get clear on it and see it outside of you so that it isn't in this format that's just generally swirling around in your head, but it's organized, it's clear, it's worded towards intention and commitment in a proactive co-creation way. And what I mean by that is like you're going into your day as the author. You're going into your day as someone who can create change, as someone whose intentions matter, as someone who has the autonomy, authority, and the power to show up and act with intention, to respond with intention as opposed to react to what's happening. And now you're in the driver's seat. No matter what's happening, no matter who's freaking out, no matter whose house you're staying at, no matter what responsibilities or commitments you've had throughout that day, you get to set the tone for what that looks like. So it brings a lot of power to your life, and it starts with just 10 minutes. 10 minutes, but we fight back on giving ourselves that. And the things I often hear in terms of like excuses or reasons why is like, I just don't have time. My day is go, go, go right from the start of the day. Like, I'm just too tired by the end of the day to stop and reflect. My kids wake me up and I don't get a chance to be by myself in the day. I don't like journaling. I find that I get bored, whatever. I have work right from the start. Like, I have to answer emails as soon as I start waking up. Okay. That's all I can say to that. Okay. But what the truth is that you're not making it a priority. You're not. Because if it was a priority, you would make it happen. And I don't mean that critically because like I've done this enough myself. I just get it. Like I get it. I've said all of those things too. And I've been the person who has rolled out of bed at 5 a.m. and immediately like opened my phone and answered texts and gotten into my email chains and just allowed the day to just snowball me and take me down the fucking hill. Excuse my language, but really. And I just rolled with it. I just reacted. I spent the entire day reacting and I lived like that for so long that I refuse to now because I began to feel like my life wasn't mine. And I experienced a heck of a lot of resentment because anytime something would happen that wasn't what I wanted, I'd be so mad that I gave everything for everyone and I showed up and I've been working so hard and busting my butt since 5 a.m. and like now this one person is asking one more thing from me and don't they like it would be this internal just barrage of anger and resentment and frustration all of the time and just feeling like none of my life was mine. None of my day was mine. I was on someone else's dime. And, then at the end of the day, I get my scraps. And I got tired of living that way. And I found that I couldn't progress towards my goals consistently because there was no time to check in throughout the day and try to create some order in the midst of the chaos. I found that taking that time at the beginning of my day to set intention and get clear what's important to me today. I have these commitments for other people. How do I want to show up for those? Are there things also that I'm committed to that I need to drop? Like they're not going to help me get where I want to go. And I don't need to be a martyr and I don't need to put myself on this pedestal of, well, if I don't do it, then someone else will, blah. Like it won't happen and the world will fall apart and family order will unravel into chaos. Like we put all these meanings on what it means to just be in this place of sacrifice all the time. Meanwhile, just growing more and more resentful and feeling less in control and autonomous in our own lives. So, in a month that often threatens us and challenges us to, have to just put everything on the back burner that's important to us in order to show up for other people and to like label that with this shiny little name tag of self-sacrifice or service or compassionate love. Like we label it really nice and fancy. What ends up happening is we just put ourselves on the back burner and then we get mad about it. So, if you really want to show up for the people in your life, you need to show up as your best you. But if you want to be your best you need to get clear every single day on what the freaking crap that actually means. Like, what does that mean to you to be your best self? So take time every morning. I challenge you for the rest of this month. I don't care that it's Tuesday right now. It's not a Monday start. I don't care that it's not the start to the month. I don't, none of that matters. What matters is that you start today. Start today. What are your intentions? What is important to you? Are you going to wait until tomorrow always to reclaim your life and start to set intentions around what's important to you? Are you going to wait until after the holidays when you're burned out and exhausted and feel like you've been giving everything for everyone for the last few weeks and have not gotten to take care of yourself at all? Because that's the pattern that you're setting. That's the messaging that you're sending yourself. So that's your challenge this week. I want you to start reflecting every morning. What's important to me today? What do I want to bring to my day? What does intentionality in my day look like? How do I want to show up in my interactions? What are the characteristics and values I want to embody today? What are the non-negotiables that have to get done for me to show up as my best self so that then I can be there for other people out of that abundance and vitality that I feel? Take care of yourself. This isn't about like implementing just one more freaking habit on top of everything else that you're committed to. This is about being the author of your story. This is about regaining power in your life and starting to feel like no matter what's going on outside of you, you get to show up for you every single day. And that is so reliable. And then it's fun. You get to start to shape your life from day to day. You notice, oh, it's headed in a direction that I'm just not liking this anymore, even if I originally did. Cool. Each day you get an opportunity to shift, to adjust course a little bit, to shift your habits. That routine worked well for me, but that one didn't. Cool. Make the adjustment today, but start to be proactive and reflective in order to become the driver in your life and to make sure that you end this year feeling confident about how you showed up and feeling that no matter what's going on around you, you can stay grounded and strong and intentional. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, if you'd like a copy of the journal like format that I use, I can send that to you. Just comment below, and I will catch you guys next time on Time Under Tension.